Good afternoon, traders. This is Christian from Hertz Tribeca Trade Group, and it is Monday, June 29th. So, one more day left to go for end of month, end of quarter, which I know everybody has been talking about that. Risk disclaimer: everything that we're going through is for information purposes only, not giving out any advice or recommendations, anything like that. This was just the first sheet of what we put out for the weekend, just in case you're not a member or you are a member and just didn't get a chance to read through it. But basically, what I said was, the market really ended on a bad note on Friday, but a lot of that was, attributed to the Russell rebalance, some moves and kind of shakeouts at the end of the week. And basically, what I said was, as we try to answer the question, was last week a buyable dip? Was it a shakeout or was it a change in market personality? And basically, what I said was, we just need a little bit of time to kind of see what that is. One of the things that we talked about too was how the VIX gave us a bullish divergence. The VIX was actually down last week while the market was down. So usually, right when the market is down, the VIX is up. Both the VVIX and the VIX were both down decently. Well, not the VIX, but the VVIX was down decently for the week. So, I think that this kind of helps a little bit, and to basically say, there was a lot of negative sentiment kind of coming into the week. And basically, what my thought was just to kind of keep an open mind, right? Let the price action kind of tell you tell you what the signal is, rather than what you're reading in the news and what everybody's saying on Twitter. So, interesting day that we had on our hands today. Here's the price action. SPY finished up 1.5% on the day. We did start in the green. We kept going in that direction. Definitely a little bit difficult though, right? Because if you added at the wrong point of the day, there was a bit of a move back that started around like 11:30, 12 o'clock to about 2:30, 3 o'clock. And then, we got a little bit of a boost at the end of the day with Kudlow and company, talking. But and then, there must have been a decent buy and balance at the end of the day for MOC because, we took out the highs in the last 10 minutes. So impressive. And one of those where you just kind of, what makes me think about this in terms of the price action back and forth. Always timing the market is pretty difficult. If you just kind of sit in it, and even if you put some risk on in the beginning of the day and let it shake out, and maybe even go for a walk because it's the summertime, go for a nice lunch, you did well. But if you added at the wrong time and got shaken out somewhere in here, you're sometimes your worst own enemy by trading a little bit too much, because this was fine from where even on the open, right, was a decent shakeout. And and that was a little bit scary this morning. It looked like kind of what we've seen before, where sometimes really growth names get a bit overcrowded. There's something else that we talked about in the weekend video as well. That be careful with when breadth starts to really narrow and only smaller subsets of groups, right? We know like what I've been talking about is the haves versus the have-nots, and a lot of those software names, growth names, have been doing very well. But they talk about, today was pretty shocking. I thought a lot of places the coronavirus cases came down, and that actually kind of led to a nice value recovery, led by Boeing, of course, too. But the price action already kind of indicated that before we got any of those numbers. When we kind of saw, going into the day, small caps were up, much more than I think small caps were indicated up like 1.3, 1.4% at one point this morning, as Nasdaq was down, was barely green. So this was kind of coming. All right, so that's why I have value is back, for a bounce anyway. We'll kind of see where it leads. Remember the last time that this kind of thing happened, it lasted for, maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks. So, this group, if you go through some of these names, clearly Boeing, if we want to look at the Boeing chart, which, these names, what's fun about this too, is when these names get going, they could really get going, right? We saw this for we saw a gap up here in Boeing, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it really helps if you are more of the objective mindset, and you can kind of just rotate into some names yourself, and be focused on some of these groups that will basically, my take is that this could run for a couple days. So we'll see. These groups have come in pretty hard. Notice how many names look familiar. Now I am bringing up airlines, but look, for example, Honeywell. You could draw a trend line in here for Honeywell. I thought I did that earlier, but there's a bunch of names that look like this. Caterpillar was something that we caught earlier in the room too. Was up nicely when everything else was selling off. But Caterpillar, you got another one too. So I would say with these names, go back to my cheat sheet over here. But for a bounce, let these names play out, because while growth rests a little bit and takes a break, remember how the seesaw mechanism works too. Growth gets overcrowded, and they peel out of growth for a couple days to a couple weeks, and value becomes interesting for a little while, and then once growth gets ignored a little bit, right? Nobody puts growth in a corner. Um, they rotate back into growth, and that's what we saw a couple weeks ago, and growth went kind of crazy for a little while. So just keep that in mind if you're looking for, now, not to say every single name is going to do that with growth and value. There's also been, one of the names that I found today, which I've been watching, for the last week, is Lulu. After this reported earnings, they didn't give any major guidance, but it's been sitting back here, and I caught this one today, so I got a little bit lucky. Up to that Virgin point of control at 304, and I took some profits after hours in this one. I put this on 294. First target I said was 300, so I was able to take a target at 305 here. And then just a bunch of other names too that have been kind of sleeping a little bit. I'm watching this Chipotle. Let's see. I don't know if Chipotle closed out. No, it didn't close out of value. But something to watch for tomorrow, because Chipotle's been quiet, right? And I think Wing had a good day. Let's see where this finished. Up 1%. It's fine. This is another name on the watch list that was up 1%. So consolidating after the breakout, which is fine. Kroger finally got the breakout in Kroger today, up 4.4% today. And I think Kroger continues to work here, because look at the coiling that happened. So I had one little shakeout here where we did not close, but it's worth it staying in the trade. Names up 4.4%. Also, what else has kind of been sleeping a little bit, and potential, maybe a false breakdown in Costco too. Wait for the charts to adjust. We'll see. Too early to tell, but Costco just hasn't acted right in the last few months. So maybe this will get it out of its sleep. But I would watch that name. There was a little bit of a call buyer in that one. But a bunch of names, right? So it is good to see names. It is good to see money come back into some names that have been, a little bit out of favor. The defense names were really strong too. I think RTX had a really nice day, also up 4.7%. Whenever Boeing goes up, this SPR. So here's another one, right? SPR kind of found support at the top of value. So you could use that as your stop, basically 20. Where is this? Right around 22, I would say. The other thing, even though this name was up huge, right, 17% in one day, you could look to see what it did back here. And again, I think some of these names could have a couple days in them where they rally, because again, they've been pretty dead, and have retraced that. This SPR, by the way, retraced this whole move. So again, I wouldn't be surprised if it kind of comes back into here, maybe. Let's see on the 1 hour chart where this indicates. 2767 could be a target. I think we talked about that earlier in the room. Also, Tesla came alive today. Broke through value here at the end of the day. Tesla did not break down here, but looked like it was close. Again, healthy consolidation in an uptrend. So nothing wrong with that. And also, the semiconductors. So I think this might bode well for tomorrow. Micron had good numbers. They're up to 51. I don't think their conference call started. And then Xilinx came right after that and said that they're going to be coming out with better than expected guidance. Raises midpoint for revenue guidance for first quarter. So should be interesting. Remember, there was a big call buyer in this ON today. It's just like repeat call buying all day in this ON semiconductor. I don't know if that was any reason why, somebody positioning in this before that, before those names come out, but this is a nice looking pattern here, right? So we got this version point of control, and as usual, we see some digestion after that, and a move down. So this looks interesting to me, and I think some members took this one today because we talked about this in our midday Q&A that we had at 1 o'clock, and I said the chart pattern looked pretty good on it. I started a position in Marvell. I was thinking about unwinding this and flipping over to ON. I did not do it. Let's see if this thing's up after hours. Up a little bit, so that might bode well for the position that we started last week. Again, I like this digestion too. So again, nice looking flag pattern, and we'll see if this, if price can get through. I know that's not perfect in here, but something to that effect. We'll see if that can get it above. So again, a lot of things kind of waking up today, and we do have quarter end, month end, but perhaps some of that positioning. I think that's what Michael Santoli said on CNBC as well, and I generally. I like his analysis, and I kind of think that happens too. Maybe you see some moves right into the close at the end of the day, but I think a lot of that positioning, happens a little bit ahead of time. All right, so that's it. So again, value outperformed. If you want to look at value versus growth, here's the chart that I tend to bring up sometimes. This is small cap value versus growth. You could see, like I said, growth, which is in the denominator here, and value is in the numerator. You could see growth really got ahead of itself back in the middle of May. Then you saw this big push by value, and since then, like I said, it's been growth that's been outperforming, and now we're seeing value come back a little bit. All right, guys, that's it for today's video. Tomorrow, don't forget, if you remember, we are having a webinar after the close. We're going to go over the market webs in major detail and how I trade with them, how I usually, how I use a very disciplined approach using the market webs. What it helps me do is basically take the emotion out of the equation, and we'll give plenty of examples. Bring all your charts, because I like to go over, spontaneous examples rather than me telling you, oh, this was a perfect setup. I like to do these with charts that you guys come up with, and then we can kind of map out trades. But I thought that was really important. Also, or I think it'll be a really good webinar. Sorry for tomorrow. What I was going to say is, for today, just to see where we ended, we talked about this 3,010 level. We got through there. Just to look at these S&P charts. Also, here was the retest, right? And a retest, the second retest, and then we went here at the end of the day. NASDAQ, just to kind of give you a picture at this, also managed to rally there at the end of the day nicely, and was a little bit hung up there on the bottom of value. But 241, once we broke into value, had a retest on this hour, but nice performance there. All right, guys, have a great night, and I'll see you tomorrow.